Yo, hello everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters. And before I introduce everybody, I have one more gentleman to add to our crazy lot. Here he is, Mr. Thrashpondo Pons.
Wicked. Sorry, for some reason I had wicked. Sorry, for some reason I had it down as 6, and apparently you guys started at 5 my time. Wicked. Sorry, brothers. Wicked. Sorry.
Not a problem, but I'm just glad you're here. So anyway, welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to another classic Kaiju Konnections film review. And to talk about this film classic, I am joined by Mr. Daniel Miller, aka the Professor.
Good evening.
Mr. Jedi Velle, aka from Jedi Velle Productions.
Right on.
As I've already mentioned, joining us is Mr. Thrashpondo Pons, and finally, Mr. Tony the Dead.
Hello.
Yes, and tonight we are being joined watching today by Mr. Jake Hall. Hello, Jake.
Hello.
We're being joined by Kaiju Ricky.
Hello.
And we're also being watched and joined, who's not feeling well at the moment, but we'll wish him the best of getting better. It is Mr. Sci-Fi Century. Get well soon, my friend. And we're also being joined by Gary Carpenter, who I believe is a follower of Mr. Thrashpondo Pons.
He certainly is. Hello, Gary.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us today. And like I say, this is Kaiju Konnections, and we're here to talk about another classic Kaiju movie. And this one is The X from Outer Space, 1967. So the question I always like to mention is, can you guys remember the first time you ever heard of this particular film? So we'll start from the top and make our way down to the bottom. So Dan Filliman.
Okay. I heard about this movie a lot in passing at things like G-Fest and on online hangouts, but I never actually saw it until today. That was the Japanese version I was able to find.
Did you watch? You didn't watch the English dubs?
No, because I assumed that there was an English dub, but I couldn't find them.
Oh,
Yeah, I found the English dub. I put it in the link a while back. It's on Internet Archive, but I think it's the version they have up is the English dub, but it's taken from, I think, someone's recording it from a television.
Right.
But if you want to watch the traditional Japanese, the Japanese version with the English subtitles, that's the version that's also on Internet Archive. So I've kind of watched them both because I wanted to see and get the perspective from both versions. So, Jedi, when did you see this film?
well, this is going to be a very interesting take. I don't know if Thrash might have heard of this film, maybe Professor too. There was a film that was called It Came from Hollywood, where they showed different clips of films of past, like during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they happened to show this one clip of Gila, running after the particular scene where they're chasing them, getting, before they get stomped on by him. And that's originally where I first heard or seen of the X from Outer Space. Now, for actually seeing it, I wouldn't see it until like 2012 when I got It Came from Chiku box set, which has other different films from their library. And like I say, let's just say that the X from Outer Space is a very interesting kaiju film, but the other films that I say I invested in, just to say they're just as interesting or more interesting than X from Outer Space. I'll just put it that way.
Thrash.
Well, as always, I go way back. And I remember we're talking mid 70s here. I remember there was a local TV channel which used to show Creature Double Feature on Saturday afternoons, which I watched for years. But they incorporated it into late night horror. And they had this big breakout. Oh, tune in tonight at 11 for a special horror movie event. And I go, oh, I can't wait. And the first thing they showed was Gilala, or X from Outer Space. I had never heard of it. I just knew it was a giant monster movie. At the time, I probably would have said it's a Godzilla movie, because to me, Godzilla was an umbrella.
Everywhere.
And every giant monster somehow fell into the Godzilla universe.
Yeah.
Even Gamera was a Godzilla movie, when you're like 8-9 years old. And like I said, I had never seen it, never heard of it, but I remember watching it and saying, this one is trippy. The problem is I couldn't remember the name of it. And actually, there's a whole story behind that. I couldn't remember the name of it. I thought it was like some X movie, and people thought I was talking about an adult movie. But, I saw it, and then I didn't actually think of it again for years. But I'm like, oh, my God, it's the giant chicken monster with the periscope in the head and the glowing red eyes. And as I say, it made an impression, although not a fully fleshed out one.
Tony.
First time I heard of this was when you said you were going to review it. Okay. Well,
I think this is a common theme with Mr. Tony.
maybe there'll be one that I've heard of, but yeah, for sure, this one I did not. Never even seen anything about it before either. So
yeah, and did you watch it via the link I sent? Or
yeah, I watched the English dub.
Yeah. Well, my first time hearing about this was actually at G-Fest last year in 2023.
Okay.
Because I remember when I was at G-Fest, there was like in the room, the vendor's room, there was one stall that did all the DVDs and Blu-rays, and I actually seen the cover for it. And it's after I seen the cover, I thought, whoa, I've never even heard of this. And I was tempted to buy it there and then, but I had already purchased something a lot more expensive. So I thought, no, don't just buy the first thing that, jumps your way. Make sure you spread your money out. You've got a full weekend to go. So I didn't buy it. And then it's when I got home, I remembered it, and then I started looking into it, and then I eventually found it online and eventually got to watch it. And I found it a very interesting film, and I didn't particularly know how I felt about it. And then I've recently watched it again. I've seen both the English dub and I've seen the English subtitled Japanese original. So let's talk about the X from Outer Space. So the X from Outer Space is a 1967 Japanese science fiction kaiju film directed by Kazuri Nihonmatsu and stars Eiji Okada. And I'm not even going to attempt the other name because I know I'll end up butchering it. And it also stars an American actress called Peggy Neal.
Called Hottie.
Yes, she was very attractive. And Peggy Neal, even though she's in the movie, she was voiced by a Japanese voice actress called Riko Muto.
Oh, jeez. Do they do that all the time?
Not always. Nick Adams always voiced his own dialogue. Some others that they brought over did as well. But when they opted to have them speak Japanese, they would say their lines phonetically, and then an actual voice actress would speak over them, so there wouldn't be a pronunciation
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
But this is the cast, the main cast of the movie.
In a nutshell, yes.
Yes.
Everyone, leave a comment and say, what are they doing?
Well, they're figuring out who got coming. Sorry.
All right. How far do you think
Sorry.
you can take it?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Walter. No.
Sorry.
You've got some people coming to say hello to Pons.
Face the Ace, how you doing? I saw Brogu in there too somewhere. Hey, Brogu, welcome to the party.
Yes. But speaking of Peggy Neal, our good friend here, Mr. Walter Ross, had the pleasure of meeting her.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yes.
So this was many years later, obviously, at G-Fest. What was that experience like, Walter?
Well, just having a woman sitting in my lap was just especially when she was a star. I mean
I can tell by her face.
Yes, yeah. That's genuine. You know, just like, wow, okay, this is a thrill ride right now. You know, so yes,
it's a thrill ride, huh?
Yes. Yes. Well, you are very lucky to meet another kaiju legend.
Yeah.
So let's get cracking and talk a little bit about X from Outer Space. So, you know, the plot is very interesting. It's about a spaceship called AAB Gamma.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the AAB Gamma. It's dispatched from Japan to the planet Mars to investigate reports of UFO seen near the Red Planet. So that's quite, you know, an interesting start. And instantly, I was, you know, not knowing this movie. You know, not knowing anything about. 1 second.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I was gonna say, what happened there? You know, well, I mean, just to add on to Kevin's what he's saying, let me just put in my 2 cents. The fact of the matter is, this film is, compared to the other films that I told you about that's on the box set here and everything, it's more a kids film anyway. You know, because it was at the time when kaijus were more kid friendly, or just say kids involved. You know, and I mean, true enough, it has a little adult themes in them in this film, but it's not like the other ones. This is strictly for kids. And if you look at the characters, some of the characters are very silly, very childish, very, you know, going by. But that's the whole point, because it is made for kids. In fact, there's a trailer, a Japanese trailer that I saw where it shows a random bunch of kids, you know, yelling and saying Gala, you know, and Gala rises up over the screen, you know, and says, you know, here I am, you know, and it's like, that's the way they advertise this film, you know. It's to say, kids, come and watch, enjoy this film, you know. That's how it was.
I even had a working theory, and we can expand on this a little bit later, but did any of you folks notice that the plot seemed a little disjointed? Like, it seemed almost, particularly in the beginning, it was almost episodic. Yeah. And it felt like when they turned the Johnny Sacco season into a movie, and they took bits and pieces and sort of strung it into one plot, it was almost like they had in mind not to make a feature film, but to make a kid's show. But at some point decided to go feature, so they took the footage they had and put it together. Did anyone else get that feeling as well?
No, I mean, I'll let Professor go with that. What would you say?
Yeah, it did have that feel in the beginning. It felt like it was a pilot episode for a series, for at least in the first act. But then later on, it decided to have this weird transition from pilot of a TV show to a sci-fi feature film. And I was like, because first time watching this, I can notice that there's something off in this transition between the two. It's like, okay, not quite sure what's going on, but I'm going to roll with it and see how it turns out.
When I was watching it, and the way the music was playing, it was like kind of funny and stuff. Like supposed to be, I thought, am I watching the right movie? And then I was like, oh, they're getting this girl like the the girl. I can't remember names. I'm sorry, but like the one that like they were going to see, and like she's like, "Oh hi," and then she like gave a bad dirty look. I thought,
Mhm.
oh, that's the X from outer space. So I'm like,
And did you notice that when she notices Lisa, she gets, as you say, she gets pissed. And
yeah,
then they're coming in too fast, and the people in control room saying, "Oh my God, they're coming in too fast! Quick, warn them!" And she goes, "You know what? You guys do that. I don't want to talk to him right now." I'm like, "Honey, please, you can put your anger aside. I know
right.
hell has no fury as a woman scorned, but could you table that until they don't crash into the moon?" And then figure
Yeah.
out then, you know.
That whole scene is like, come on now. I mean, I know you're a female, you're human, but it's like this needs to be. You're supposed to be a professional,
Yeah.
navigator, whatever. Don't go there, And that's. I'm just like, oh my God, come on, we're doing this stuff,
Yep.
But that plays to the kids' movie angle because remember,
Mhm.
in Japan, if there was a love triangle, they really had to spoon feed it to the children. So
And
they really bash you over the head with it to the point where, oh, look, she's going to let them crash into the moon.
And spoon feed it they do because they hit this film hard or hit you, the audience, hard with that love. And true enough, it's a love triangle. I'm just like, we don't have time. I don't need this. I mean, yeah, I get it. This is a child's film, but it's like, why do I need to see this? Why do I need to hear this?
No.
And I just got to add one thing too. The theme of this film, how it starts out. I don't know why, but every time I hear it, I always want to do this kind of motion. It's like, I don't know why I want to do that dance because it just seems like that's so silly. But that's because I go back to it. This is a kid's film, and you got to hammer in these kind of themes because kids are gonna love it, but the adults can be like, "What am I watching? I mean, this is what we go to the theater to watch this. This is what we're watching, So yeah.
And they put that song in like such weird like sections of the movie, like they're like fighting and shooting and blowing things up, and it's like, dude, like however that music was, like, why is it like that? And then when the monster was around, and the whole thing was like an alarm going off the whole time, like, oh my God.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, especially like when they're first arriving onto the moon. You have that that little music riff going in the background. It's like, okay, are we back in the TV pilot or are we in a children's movie now? And I'm sorry,
I had
even
to
look at the spaceship with the AB on the side. You can tell it's like aimed at kids.
Yeah.
Thunderbirds are go. When I first saw the ship, I go, "Oh, it's the Mach 4."
Yeah,
Wait,
and
Mach 4,
speaking of Thrash, the sound effect they use for the ship going through space, it's the same sound effect for Thunderbird 2 when it's flying.
Really? Is
it? It is.
Crazy.
And the cannons, the little turrets, those little maser turrets when they're shooting at Galileo, they're the same torpedo sound effects used in pretty much every Jerry Anderson production.
Wow.
They are literally the same sound effects.
That's too
nice.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yes.
Good catch, Professor. Good catch.
Yes, I never noticed that.
Yeah. So that's interesting that this film has taken a British television show and has kind of been a mixture of classic kaiju and classic Japanese cinema and mixed it with elements of British television.
Yes.
That's pretty neat.
So, because obviously here in the UK, the Thunderbirds and Stingray and Captain Scarlet, they're very much like loved. Yeah, it's like some of our best, television from that era. And they're still loved to this day. And I know they've kind of brought the Thunderbirds back a couple of years ago, like in the CGI format, but it won't beat the original classic puppeteering that they used to do many years ago.
Absolutely not.
It's a lot more fun.
It really was. It really was. There was a certain love behind it.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's what it was. It was, like I say, that joy of doing it. The remake was like, man,
this one's quite tame.
Yeah.
He's having a nice sleep. But yeah, it's so basically they go to investigate this apparently UFO sightings. And like you see, there's a lot of drama among the crew on the ship.
Mhm.
And like you mentioned, Walt, that one, there's a love triangle there among the cast in the characters, and then suddenly, there's these alien spores that start flying through space, which then penetrate the ship, and the spores is then accidentally exposed to acid, and grows into a giant creature that is named Julala. Is that right?
I believe it's Gial. One more time.
Julala.
Gilala. Gil
Gilala.
like in the fish gills. Gilala.
Gilala. Yeah.
In fact, I did some research because I was trying to figure out what the heck does Gilala mean, because like Godzilla, we know that comes from Gojira, the Godzilla whale. But I'm like, what is a Gilala? And I actually did a little digging. I found there were a lot of working titles before they settled on Gilala. It was Bug Monster X, Demora, Deimos, and they finally settled on, and I'm not making this up, Prantical Gil Al-Lidriados, which I believe is apparently they finally settled on Gilala. It's a combination between the Latin and the Greek words for very large.
Oh,
okay.
So
wow.
it's like saying super big. And this is the funniest part. They finally settled on the name of the monster, much like with Jet Jaguar, where it was a contest. The studio had a contest, and apparently 210,000 people voted. And the name that came out on top was Gilala.
People were always dumb.
Why my brain just got fried from thinking that? It's
And
like,
this is the creature that they got to name Gulala.
And let's look at it for a second. It's going to be the wackiest design. The head looks like a spaceship, only with a periscope and a pair of those old 60s rabbit ear antennas.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I could have sworn this was in an Ultraman show at some point.
It probably was. They used to
Don't be
borrow giant kaiju for Ultraman and other kid shows as well.
Don't be
Well,
surprised.
speaking of that,
But is it actually?
Oh,
Oh my god!
Yeah.
oh, that explains it then.
Yep, that sure is.
because when I first seen this on the front cover of the DVD that I seen at G Fest, I said that looks like an Ultraman character. And in Ultraman, no, this happened.
Whoa!
Now that
Whoa.
makes more sense.
Because I was gonna say I'd never seen nothing like that with him getting
But
that.
it's a great way for studios to also still make money off, props and suits that they've spent money on. So obviously, the studio that produced this particular film would have probably sold them the suit of the character once the film was done, especially if the film didn't do as well at the box office as that they hoped. So they probably make more money. They sold the suit to a rival studio to use, which makes sense.
I mean, that only makes sense. I mean, because and see, we got to remember too. This was at a time too when this film came out where certain studios were about to, and we're just about to go under. I mean, this one in particular, not much, but I think like Daiei, they were going to go under once it hit the 70s, and it's like, okay, we got to do something to kind of get ourselves afloat, or kind of manage. So it's. They got to think of a way of surviving, So that only makes sense. I mean, I'm just amazed that when you see that kind of crossover into something else, it makes more sense, But yeah, I mean, this was a desperate time, because things were thriving, they were on fire, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we're experiencing technical difficulties. We got to sell our stuff and try to keep afloat now,
Well, the Japanese were always famous for cross-promoting material. You lend your stuff down to the studio, which promotes your studio, but you can also charge them, and they underwrite the cost. So it's a very economical way of making product. And again, it's for children. They're going to eat it up. You put Godzilla in anything. You put Godzilla in the Waltons, and kids are going to watch it.
Right.
So
Zone Fighter. That happened in Zone Fighter.
very good.
The best,
very
the
good.
best Godzilla crossover was Godzilla versus Bambi.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember when I first saw that, I was just like, whoa, that's really Godzilla versus Bambi? Like, or Bambi versus Godzilla? It's like, that's a weird take, but yeah, that works, you know.
Yeah. So what ends up happening next is that Guella and starts growing exponentially and then starts making its way across the countryside of Japan. And the government, of course, are like in shock of the events that's happening. And eventually Juella makes its way to Tokyo, where it begins its destruction of the city.
Yes.
And as always, the Japanese decide the best way to do is to kill pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful shot. I mean, see, when I first saw that shot, I'm just like, that's the actor, the suit actor, not really knowing how to coordinate his hand with the damn prop. And I was just like, okay, you're trying to hit the plane, but it's like you're kind of slapping your face first while you're doing that, you know. So
and you also notice that the plane hit him just before it actually exploded.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, what are you trying to do, you know?
But at least they explain what Galella's motivation is. Godzilla just manages to find every city in Japan and trash it for reasons unknown. Galella's actually looking for energy because it feeds directly on energy. So at least they kind of had a justification, because I always wondered, why do these giant monsters always aim for urban areas? Why don't they try the path of least resistance? I mean, for crying out loud, Godzilla is aquatic. Why does he leave the ocean in the first place? Well, he has to, because it makes a better movie. You can only swallow so many boats before people get tired of that.
And I was just about to add, it's like, yes, it sells more tickets when you do that.
Yeah. And to reply to Thrash, it is explained that when he was first exposed to the atom bomb, Godzilla was evolving into a land animal. So, of course, at some point, he's going to come out onto land after being in the ocean.
And also, there is in some of the movies, when he does leave the ocean to go onto land, he goes to feed on the power plants because he feeds off atomic energy.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So
but that wasn't in the first one. That came later. In the first one, they don't establish and I'm so glad you guys mentioned that, because I know it's a deviation, but it's one of my favorite Godzilla factoids of all time. Godzilla's created essentially by the atomic bomb, correct? He's destroyed by the oxygen destroyer from Dr. Shiwazawa.
Yeah.
In the Japanese version, there's a scene where Dr. Shiwazawa is put on the spot. He's like, weren't you working on a secret weapon during the war? And the implication is the oxygen destroyer was an Axis secret weapon to prevent amphibious landings, something both the Germans and the Japanese could have really profited from. He just couldn't perfect it before hostilities ended. So if you think about it, Godzilla in the Japanese version is created by an American secret weapon and destroyed by the Japanese secret weapon. So it's almost like the War of 1812, where the Battle of New Orleans took place actually after the war ended, but the Americans like to say, oh, look, we won. It's almost like the Japanese just saying, well, we lost the war, but we got to win round 2, didn't we?
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
I always love that.
Yeah. So, like you say, the difference with like the initial reveal of Godzilla, who just leaves the water and causes chaos. Juala's got a motivation, to gathering energy. And there is some really interesting scenes in this. Like, once he has enough energy, he then turns into like that giant ball of fire.
Yeah.
Why? I was wondering about that. Because he only does it once. And it's not like a secret weapon or something. He almost does it for laughs. Or like he's really full, so he's gonna like burn off some calories.
Yeah.
But he just gets to move from one place to the other. I kept waiting. So is this a secret weapon? Is he going to use this to try to destroy a city or more enemy ordnance? No, he just does it to fly, almost like Godzilla flying to catch up with
Hedora.
Hedora. Thank you. I was going to say the smog monster, but I felt the need to use its proper nomenclature.
So as like you say, as he's kind of turns into this fireball for no apparent reason except to cause more chaos. Because don't forget, right at the beginning, they went to Mars because there was these alien UFO sightings, and now he's on Earth, so it's clearly an alien invasion. So he's like no intention to him. He's like become this weapon for the aliens, and he starts attacking them. And like you see, the crew and the scientists get together, and they manage to come up with, this formula and solution that is called Aliism or whatever. It's had a weird, ridiculous name.
It's almost like antimanium or something like that.
Yeah, but it's called Julala is Alamandium or whatever it's called.
What the fuck it is, yes.
It's basically led to Superman.
Yeah.
They basically coated with it so he can't absorb energy.
So it's like Julala's kryptonite.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Exactly.
Yeah. Is there any? He has a question. Did any of you watch the Monarch television show?
I have not.
I did not.
You know I didn't.
No.
I did. And I thought it was an interesting show. I think, when I seen the trailers for the show, I thought it looked really good. Getting into it, it was a slow burn, but a good story, and I'm looking forward to the second one.
Yeah. There was an interesting title for one of the episodes called G-Day -1, which was literally just around the corner from Godzilla -1's release.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It was very, very interesting. I really think you should watch it. If any years get the chance to watch it, do it. Right. Me, Anubis, and Neko did a review of the show, and we really enjoyed it because it was a slow burn, but there's maybe 2 or 3 characters that stand out. Kurt Russell's phenomenal in it. His son Wyatt Russell's phenomenal in it. Like, they both play the same character. Right. So Wyatt Russell, his son, plays him in the past, and obviously Kurt Russell plays him now.
I hope so.
So
yeah,
it's really, really interesting.
That'd be
they should have did the other way, make it like mess with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why not? I mean, because they both almost look alike, and it's like, well, I'll play the son, you play the father. Like, let's see how it works. I mean, you play the older me, I'll play the younger me. How it works. Whatever. If it makes,
I got you, Jedi.
I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. So right,
I get what you're putting down.
Yeah,
it's like you're doing this in a parallel universe where the whole process of aging is in reverse.
Yes, like
Benjamin Buttons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I like that movie.
Yes,
but
it's a great movie.
I was thinking of Meeting Joe Black with. I was thinking of the other one, but that movie sucks. That's
well. I was about to say I like Benjamin Buttons a lot better than Joey Black.
Yeah.
If Anthony Hopkins can't save a movie, it's bad. So it's you get that, you get Free Jack. Sorry.
I like
Free Jack is great.
I apologize. I thought he played it almost comically, so I like to make fun of him in that. But no, a lot of people do like Free Jack. So apologize.
Look, for a person who does this in a scene where he's like in Silence of the Lambs, I mean, I think you pretty much got the audience right there. You got them hooked.
Yeah.
So,
I had a question about the alien invasion angle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because it seemed odd. I mean, the movie, again, the main premise in the beginning is they're trying to get to Mars, but aliens are trying to prevent them from getting to Mars. Okay, great. So we have the whole Angry Red Planet scenario, and they mentioned how the first 2 were thwarted by the Martians, so we're not surprised when they show up. But the Martians stop them, and when they're trying to reboot their ship, they notice the coating of the nodules. So here's my question, though: did the aliens put those there, or did they pick those up in a unrelated matter, or here's one even better still. With the aliens trying to warn them, no, don't try to go from Earth to Mars because there's this belt of weird alien spores you'll pick up and contaminate your planet, and we were learning that the hard way. So it's this bizarre angle.
It's one hell of a coincidence.
It could be.
Yeah,
it could be, because I gotta tell you, that whole flying saucer angle seemed really, really superfluous. They wanted to pad it for some reason. They go, well, we'll add an alien spaceship for some reason.
Yeah, like I think it's halfway through the film as well that you get that alien spaceship that looks like a pie flying in the sky.
What do you call it? A flying egg?
Yeah, flying egg.
Flying egg, yes.
I just thought, is that an apple pie?
It's more like a cranberry pie than an apple pie.
Either way, I was.
Rhubarb.
Either way, I was.
Oh, wait, it's a blackberry pie.
That might be, but you
Either
know,
way, it made me hungry.
Yeah, I see why Thrash even mentioned. You know, does this seem more like an episodic movie? Because even when I'm watching it, you know, and even when I rewatch it, I mean, like, I can tell it's like this seemed like this should have been made for television, you know, but they put it on the big screen, and it's really, you think about it, it's all over the place. You know what I mean? Yes, you got a space invasion. Yes, you got a kaiju attack. But it's like, what are you trying to say? And then you got the love connections. Like, can you tell me what movie I'm trying to watch? Okay. We got
and then you were watching the movie. You were watching the movie The Pie in the Sky.
Okay.
Then Dr. Kato gets space sickness for some reason, so they have to replace him with that Dr. Stein on the moon base, just so he can flip out halfway between Earth and Mars. And they never elaborate on it.
No,
they go, okay, we're going back to Earth. He goes, oh, great, I can see my wife now, and that's it. There's like no elaboration. There's no,
and there was no like, right, he's gotten mysteriously sick on this space. We need to keep him in quarantine for 6 months to do investigation that he hasn't caught some virus that will transpire back to Earth. He's like, no, he's fine now. Let's, you know, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the second Species movie, they took that on board, but someone couldn't keep it in their pants.
I mean, that's a good point, you know, exactly. But see, this is something I have to say.
You, Dr. Stein.
Yeah, right. No, but this is the reason why I say this is more for kids, because I think they can follow it better, or at least to say, well, whatever cool thing comes up, we're going to understand it. Which is one of the reasons why I say the films that I have in the collection that goes along with this film are more adult, because they stick to one premise and go from there. Because if you dance around, you know, hopscotch all around, it's like you're gonna lose us, you know. And I feel like kids, it's like we love the hopscotch. That's our thing. We love these kind of games. We need, as adults, we need a straightforward, what are you trying to say kind of narrative, and go from there.
Yeah. It's all about the continuity. In fact, if you watch the posts for Everything Wrong With, 90% of them are continuity errors. Adults love continuity. In fact, we crave it. Kids don't care. Like, look, something cool's happening over here, and something happening over there. They never resolve anything. It doesn't matter. There's fun stuff going on. It's like going to a carnival.
Yeah.
So
it does feel like it's chopped up.
And another thing,
and it feels like bits are missing.
Yeah.
It's like they're going to go somewhere with something and then change their mind afterward. Well, the doctor has space sickness, and that's going to come up. You know what? It's not going to come up. Forget that. All right. Oh, and one of my personal favorites is almost as if, well, some of the kids aren't going to be able to connect 2 and 2. They show the little chicken feet in the laboratory. And then they find the giant chicken foot, and the Dr. Kato's like, you see this small foot here, and the large one here. We think this is the same monster, only bigger. And I'm like, you think?
Doesn't take an Einstein to figure that out.
But the thing is, though, that didn't make sense, because the creatures formed through the spore hitting on the ship. The what was it again? I said it before.
Maybe
the,
in
sh-
game one.
the spore is actually exposed to acid and grows into a giant creature. So you're telling me there's little creatures that were creatively either spawned in acid naturally on Mars, and then it just happens to happen on a spaceship or on Earth. So even that's a bit doesn't make sense. So
Well, there has to be some catalyst, like in what was it, 10 million miles to Earth?
20 million miles. The Ymera grows because the oxygen on Earth compared to Venus is rarefied.
So you have to find some reason for them to go super bizarro. So in this case, it was just some lab acid. You know.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the elixir isn't the important thing. The elixir just gets us from the point A to the point B. The thing was a tiny spore before, now it's a big monster. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now we can fight a big monster, because it seemed like the whole thing was the ultimate goal was we needed to become a kaiju so we can have shots of the kaiju fighting and blowing up airplanes, and the chase scene with the Jeep, which I gotta tell you, it's my favorite scene in the entire movie, and I think Michael Crichton may have seen this movie too, because all I can think of is this is where he got the idea for Jurassic Park.
Must go faster. Must go faster.
He even says, must go faster, must go faster.
Things in the mirror are bigger when they appear closer.
Yeah. Right.
Understandable.
So what ends up happening is they create the Julie Ilum, or whatever you call it, the kryptonite, the alien kryptonite. And as always, just like, kamikaze pilots, there must, amount of people who sign up to want to be a kamikaze pilot. They go after the kaiju with this new concoction, and they start blasting it. And it slowly starts getting covered in the white stuff, as Mr. Daniel Miller likes to call it.
I don't think he said that. I called it something else.
Which is what the
But we're a family show.
So it gets covered in like the white gelatinal stuff that comes from the capsules that are getting fired at it, till eventually it slows down. And once it slows down, it then begins to shrink.
Yeah,
which at them scenes them scenes made us laugh as it shrunk, and then next thing you know, it's in a little jar.
And she goes to touch it with her hands, and was like, no, have you learned nothing at this point? Don't touch it with your hands. Oh, thank God I have these forceps on me. Good.
Well, I think we're figuring out quickly though,
with gloves on earlier. And here you are on Earth thinking, okay, I'm just going to be barehanded on this one. You're not going to get any gloves. What the hell were you thinking?
Oh.
You're not even safety protocols one-on-one.
Well, I think we've discovered already, one, it's a movie for kids. It's not a smart movie, and it's not a thinking movie. So,
yes. Because I got to point out a moment real quick. It's like, y'all are not serious right now. I remember when there's a love triangle, and you notice that the two women, when the guys who do the kamikaze run, we see the one that they really love, he's kind of injured. They could say, hey, we come to help, we come to run down. I was like, shouldn't y'all be in a safe space right now instead of trying to help him with something? I mean, please. I mean, I know you're trying to help him, injure him. I mean, help, his injuries, but y'all need to be away from the danger right now. Does this make sense? I mean, are y'all not thinking with your damn heads? I mean, y'all are both, supposed to be, scientists. Why are y'all going to? I mean, this is where you realize, like, oh, love is a mini Splder thing. We both love this man, but it's like y'all are really thinking with your dumb head right now. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
I had a very similar thought, and in the closing of Yongari, when the entire family is on board a helicopter taking down Yongari in the end, it's like, what the hell? A whole family in a helicopter? What the hell is going on? What? Was it? Bring your family to kill a kaiju day? What?
Maybe. That guy could have had everything. He could have had both girls if he played it right.
But,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. The whole purpose on that mission was to lead Galala away from the women, particularly the one who was wounded. She had that like giant water heater fall on her leg.
Oh yeah.
You know, it should have looked like a garden hose. But she's running around a minute later trying to save them. I mean, like, am I missing something? In the very end, Minamoto sprained his ankle falling out of the Jeep. She's helping him along. I'm like, how are you walking on that leg?
How do you have a leg yet?
Right?
Yes, you mean when the top of the lab just landed on?
That massive chunk of it looks like a boiler or something, but it's gigantic.
It's only a flesh wound.
It's a miracle.
And
Yeah, right?
they're lifting it up, and the beam breaks and falls back on her, and I'm like, it's like, I was getting sympathy agony,
Well, it's not. Unfortunately, this wasn't like Poseidon's Adventure,
But there is a morning after.
Yes,
there is a morning after. That's true.
So what ends up happening is, of course, because now Julala can't absorb energy, and he's now been shrunk down, and they keep putting the Julala kryptonite on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
He can never rise. He's gonna stay permanently that size and dormant. So they said the Earth saved, and then they decided to eject him into outer space.
Yes.
Oh, and one more thing that I noticed, by the way, that really, I don't know, threw me off. Okay, time is kind of the essence, right, guys? So what do? Well, we know there's a bunch of this stuff on the moon. We need to analyze it. Now, there's a whole research team up there. You can't give them a call saying, could you guys research this? No. They take a flight to the moon, research it, and then rather than send the formula back, we'll gather what we got, and then come back. They waste 2 moon trips while Galala's destroying Japan. I'm like, there had to have been a more efficient way of doing it.
It would have been easier to just send Katy Perry.
Oh God! I was just about to say, what? I mean, yes. I mean, do you think that would be more efficient? I mean, send 8, 5, or whatever amount of women into space for a bus ride, and then say, hey, use a lot of resources and waste our time. That would be great.
Yeah, but none of them don't know how to wear oxygen breathing gear, do they? Because they haven't been trained in that part of exploration.
James Cameron gets Ellen Ripley, we get Katy Perry.
Kevin, put up that picture again with them looking at that probe. Now I recognize it. That's Jeff Bezos's ship. That's Katy Perry inside that thing. They're actually giants.
I'm so glad you mentioned Alien, because I'm sure Alien was at least in some way inspired by. And speaking of inspirations, who else saw the connection between this movie and another movie we talked about, Green Slime?
Yeah, I was thinking of Green Slime. Yeah.
In fact, the ship is called the Gamma.
That's
down to
right.
that. But of course, the whole thing is, well, what if it gets back to Earth? What if it gets back to Earth? The only difference is, instead of mass multiplying like an evasive ant population, this one just gets really, really, really big. But the premise is the same: an alien spore that goes bonkers.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a connection there.
But when I've just read here that the ending doesn't make sense, so I've just read here.
None of it makes sense.
The government.
When does it make sense?
So it says
What is making sense?
It's wacky.
So it says that the Julala kryptonite shrinks down to it shrinks down to its original spore form, stored in a glass container filled with the Julala kryptonite. It is rendered permanently harmless. Then it stays straight away after it's rendered, permanently harmless. It says the government promptly launches it back into space, where it will be where it will orbit the sun in a nigh inescapable heliocentric orbit for the foreseeable future. So instead of keeping it with Julala kryptonite in, say, a vault where it can be constantly monitored, they've just sent it into orbit to circle the sun.
But they still got the formula. So if one should show up, they could certainly mass produce it like on the fly. Because let's face facts, they were managed to manufacture a bunch of it quick enough to actually take down the big Galala.
But even
So-
so,
But since
why
they've
send it
launched
back
them-
into space where it could be potentially more dangerous?
It should be kept in a vault, locked up.
Well,
permanently.
they launched
I-
it toward the sun, right? Like, so
No,
couldn't it
I-
absorb the sun?
I thought he
Yeah,
said,
why not launch it
There's-
at the sun?
"Oh, did they?"
Burn it.
I
No,
thought they were
it-
sending it into
What?
the outer orbit, like the Voyager, like it was
That's
just going
what
to
I
keep going
thought.
forever. That's what I thought
But
too.
the thing is, though, the plot's about aliens, so as well invading. So who's to say, right? They launch it towards the sun to orbit the sun permanently with this for. Who's to say an alien ship's not just going to pick it up and bring it back to Earth? Or do what they want with
There
it?
you go.
Well, you got to remember too, this film came out 2 years after a certain film did something similar where they shot a kaiju was born here, sent him in outer space, and figured like, hey, he'll never cause no harm. And we know who he is because he came right back 1 year later, just causing havoc with another monster. So come on, man. I mean, they making judgment calls thinking that this will resolve everything. But just like this, they say, well, this won't cause no harm. You never know because something could happen.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
here's the thing: these movies, they always like to use Mars
Yeah.
as the destination of space travel or the destination of a potential alien invader. It's like, okay, so we couldn't try somewhere
It's
else. Like,
Uranus you've got to
yeah.
watch out for.
oh yeah, definitely. The Iranians, the Eurasians.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. It's just weird because it just makes me think to myself. It's like you're supposed to be these high IQ individuals, but you're showing the most deepest of just like wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Forrest Gump is way smarter than you people.
True.
I think it's funny too when you watch these movies how you're talking about like the equipment and stuff that they use, how they thought the future was going to be with all this stuff. Like where she lands like right next to them in space and she like just puts her helmet on and then the thing goes right up and then you see her, the little figure of her going over to them and it's almost like underwater where like the pressure thing.
Yes.
And then like he just does this. It's just like it works, but it's just so like that's not even close. We're not even that far,
I'm
doing
just,
this.
I'm just,
jumping.
I'm
on the
just glad I
moon.
didn't live in Japan because I'd be fucking dead if I was a pilot. It
Yeah,
just-
you do. I mean, look at that. I mean, really, it's Professor say hits him in the face, and yet, dude, you already got this slapped already. Why you hitting it now? You don't know what you're doing. Come on now.
Like, it must be one of those flight simulator games where there's a number of hit points. If you hit an object, then you're fine. But if you have 1 hit point left, it's only when a kaiju hits you, it's an insta kill.
Oh
yeah. So, with all that said, it's an interesting film, but it has a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
So, I'll go around the group. So, we'll start with Daniel Miller.
Oh, no.
What in all is your a true opinion of the film?
The X from Outer Space. Good evening, Gojira. Okay, now the X from Outer Space. I'd say it is very much a product of circumstance. It has to feel like, okay, it was a made-for-TV project, maybe a pilot or a full series or just a half-hour length feature film for the small screen. Then someone decided, let's make this a feature movie for the big screen. And it just feels muddled with how they try to change one format into another. The whole alien invasion plot with the UFOs in the final project, it just feels tacked on. And it's like it barely comes up again. Like, not even when they go back into space to the moon, I don't think that the aliens are a menace to them again.
They see them, but they're not menaced by them. It's like every time they're
Yeah.
like, it's like the Foo Fighters in World War II, which was the other theater, but the same premise. Every time they go up in the outer orbit, they see this Foo Fighter, shall we say, this alien ship, and sometimes things go wrong, some don't, but they're being monitored the whole time. They're where they shouldn't be.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot more could have been done with that, or they could have just dropped it entirely and it probably wouldn't make any difference.
Yeah.
But I mean, the kaiju itself, the design, I'm going to say it's not what I was expecting. I mean, to be honest, I thought I was looking at a kaiju from Ultraman. When I first saw this, it's like, yep, there he is.
He's got his nails done though.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yep, he's got on a makeover. But, yeah, interesting design, although it does leave a lot to be desired by other standards. Yeah, there it is. Great design, but again, could be worked on. The characters. What can I say about the characters in the movie?
I like that photo. It makes it look great in that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the fire behind it.
Yeah. And also the lighting on here and how it's situated next to this building that's barely standing anymore. It's literally just a wall now. It's just one fourth of a building. The characters, I'm going to say they're probably the weakest that you could find in a kaiju movie. I think the big problem was that they couldn't really decide on what they wanted to do with this film, so it felt like a on-the-spot decision that was changed drastically at some point during either pre-production or production. And then we just ended up with this. Now, I know that there are people who like a movie for what it is. I appreciate the film as an entertaining kaiju feature. Is it something I'd watch again religiously? I don't think so, personally. I think it's something that, to me, it's like the green slime. You watch it once, you see the appeal, it sticks with you, then after a while, it just sort of fades until someone else mentions it in conversation and you go back to it again. That's what I see about this movie. My final rating, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10.
Not a problem. Jedi.
Well, I'm kind of following suit with what Professor says. You know, I mean, this film is so disjointed with some of the things that it does. I mean, it starts out with what it does, and then it goes all over the place. You know, I mean, trust me, it's no Close Encounters, but for sure. I mean, this movie is beyond what Close Encounters ever did. But no, I mean, it appeals to me because it does appeal to me with it's kind of like them frosted bits, you know. You got the frosted bits for the kid, but the other side for the adult in you. It has that appeal, but I don't mind watching kids films, but you need to do better with that. And like I say, it is a product of the time because it was just made for kids. It was made to, you know, entertain kids with the kaiju aspect and all that stuff. But the simple fact is, this film, kind of like what Professor is saying, would I watch it again? Only if someone says, you want to watch this, let's kind of discuss it. That's probably the only time I would do that, because as I mentioned before, when I bought this film with the other films that was along with the set, those films I've watched almost religiously time and time again, because as I say, they're more adult. They have a fleshed out storyline, and it's like, it gets you hooked. You know, it doesn't like play around with the other stuff that you tell me. That this is supposed to play around with, you know, with your feelings in terms of like, okay, this is what's doing, this is what's going, go from there. With them other films, it's like, we are not going to be, people are dying. People are going to say, we are literally showing that, you know, stuff is happening right now. So, but here it's like, you know, the people are not that. And as far as characters, what characterization? I'm sorry. I mean, some of them, the one guy who jokes around a lot, is like, I'm like, dude, if you don't shut the hell up and get your ass on the damn ship, you know, I don't give a damn what you're joking about. Get your ass to Mars, okay?
Jettison him out of the airlock. Jettison him out of the airlock if he keeps making jokes.
Yes,
throw him out into the vacuum.
Because dude, you saw how his butt got caught in the hole when they got the dude. Now, if he got sucked in the vacuum of space, it's like I'm not losing no sleep.
Now,
I mean,
if that was a real horror movie, he would have been snapped into two, and his guts would have flew through the hole.
They would have all been out.
Alien Resurrection.
yes,
Remember that ending? Yeah.
I was thinking Jason 10.
Yeah.
yes.
This sucks on so many levels.
Oh my god! But to give a final rating for this, I'm actually going to get lower than the Professor. I'm going to go with a 5. Believe it or not. Okay, so
Thrash.
Well, again, I do have a certain level of nostalgia for it, and I think the kaiju scenes, even though the monster is a little on the wacky side as far as kaiju go. I mean, it has like ruffled arms, like it's wearing like one of those ruffled shirts from the American Revolution, or I'm sorry, the American Insurrection. Sorry, but it's wearing those old ruffled shirts, and the head, just because it's a space monster doesn't mean its head should look like a spaceship. And again, the noise it makes, instead of it sounds funny, but it's a giant kaiju, and it's not without its charm.
You sound like the Batman. You sound like the Penguin there from the Adam West show.
I think that may have been subliminal.
Right?
All you're missing is your little cigar.
Yeah, just give him a cigar, one of those one-ring glasses, and a bit of a nose and the top hat, and he's got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
but,
it.
The thing about a good kaiju movie is we have to be invested in the characters, and we're not. The reason the love triangle worked in Godzilla is because we cared about the three characters.
Yeah.
Captain Sano is a pretty stand-up guy, but we certainly aren't that interested in him. Certainly not as much as the two girls are, and we don't even know which one to root for. Neither one of them has really done anything to cause us to go, oh my god, I'm on team Lisa, I'm on team Momori, or whatever I can't remember the young lady's name. I've written down somewhere. Momori. Wait, you know what I'm talking about.
Make Kevin pronounce it.
Let's have a look.
But we're not invested into the characters. And then all these MacGuffins, all they kind of do is fill screen time and detract from what we're really watching it for, the monster trashing cities. And there would be one thing, though, if they added up or were going somewhere. Now, something you alluded to, Chico. Not Chico.
Michiko.
Gee, I was all over the place. Where'd I get Momono? Well,
the film is all
It's
over the
close.
It starts with an M. That M chick. But
Miku?
there's no I think if there was some connection between the Martian spaceship and the kaiju, it would have pulled together enough where the whole thing could have worked. And I'm going to reference Angry Red Planet again one more time. There's this completely expositional scene at the end of Angry Red Planet where the Martian's voice comes over and it says, "Hear our words and fear us. You continue to try to invade our planet. We will not stand for that. Stop trying to invade Mars or things will go even worse for you." And it's like, aha, okay, so every time we try to go to Mars, something terrible happens. Solution, stop trying to go to Mars. And now we have resolution. Now we have everything tied together. What do we have? Lisa says, "Oh, I guess I'm just a third wheel. I will go back to Germany and just live like a nun." And the other two people join hands and go, "La, la, 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 la," in front of Mount Fuji. And I'm like, what the frig are we watching? Is this the Sound of Music all of a sudden? And it wasn't a kaiju movie. It wasn't even a romantic movie. It was just silly. And I'm like, so I think this must have looked great on paper. But I don't know if they changed directors a couple times or just didn't care because they were going to market this for kids. But the whole thing kind of misfired. However, out of sheer nostalgia, and again, it's a bad monster movie, so how bad could it be? I'm actually going to give it a solid 7.5 and sleep at night.
Cool.
Interesting. Right, Mr. Tony the Dead.
Well, yeah, I agree with everything everybody's been saying. Like the character development, there was none there. I didn't care what woman he got. After a while, I was hoping they would get together, or like just like the hell with him. You know?
It was Japan's first gratuitous shower scene, though. They did have a shower scene together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, that didn't help it at all, though.
Didn't hurt.
And they dropped the soap.
Oh
yeah,
my
oh
god.
yeah, that's right,
Right?
right. And she just like looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, yeah, I didn't care about anybody. It was like too funny at first. I'm like, then I said, like, I'm honestly like, am I watching the right movie? And it's like, I know it takes sometimes a while for to get to the monster, and it was kind of an interesting monster though, at least. But the whole trip there and the love triangle and going back and stuff, it's like it's just ridiculous. And they must have like a warehouse full of like rockets that just like, yeah, just use this one and okay, that we don't need it. Send it, But it was interesting though that like this is like this little spore thing or whatever. What is it? What are you laughing at? and it's like it comes to Earth and like it grows. So would that technically still be a baby because it grew? So then if it's going to absorb more energy, won't that like make it not older but like even bigger?
Maybe it's like maybe it's like the like the Ymir from 20 Million Miles, where it's fully grown in the thing already, but the oxygen just makes it bigger because it messes up the metabolism.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. See, I think that obviously the best parts were him trashing the city around and everything and like going up the coast, just like putting the destruction here, and they move the little Godzilla face up here. He's going. Here's the path he's going, but like, yeah, the planes like that was funny. I thought the same thing. Like, why do they keep flying into his face and that? Like, do they not understand? Like, it's not hurting him. That's one thing in these movies. Like tanks, it's like it never works. It doesn't hurt them.
Well,
And
they don't have a chance to report back because they get killed.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's like no specs. There's no, let's see, do not fly into his face. That fails.
Well, shouldn't that just be a hint that when nobody contacts them, that's like, I think something happened. I don't think it worked. But the creature itself is so weird looking. It's almost like a ship evolved out of it evolved out of the ship and just had the ship as a head, and there's a body. It was interesting though, but I don't know, it just looked weird. I said it looks like to Shayna. I said, it kind of looks like if they got like toxic waste on like Big Bird, and he just like got big and like he mutated, But other than that, I mean, I really had a hard time with this. I'll be honest. It was one of those where I had to check how long I was in it, and it was like 20 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding? So then I went and I was like, I can't watch this right now. I went back. I went and I started watching Captain America: Brand New World for the first time. Got halfway through that, and I was like, all right, I'll go back to the other one. And then I finished that, and then I went back to Captain America. But like, I couldn't tell you which one was that much better. Probably Captain America, but I mean,
not by much, right?
Not by much, no. But yeah, I don't know. I of all the ones that I've watched, this is my least favorite for sure. But I get it's more towards kids, so I think my kids would like it. So if I ever watch it again, it'll be because they ask. And I would have to say I would give it what did Professor say? 4.5?
Yeah, 6.5, but now I'm thinking going for a 5 or 6.
Oh, okay. I was thinking 4.5. Yeah.
As for me, like I say, I went to G Fest in 2023. And when I seen the cover of the DVD, I was thinking, oh, is this going to be something like Destroy All Monsters, which is one of my favorite Showa era films? Yes, so you're more entertaining than this fucking film. So, and he knows it. So, I just remember going into this with, seeing them take off the Mars and the plot, and then as it progressed, I felt like, is this like an uncut version of the film? Has it been chopped up? Is the scenes missing? I was quite confused, but then when I read up, no, this is the full-fledged film, and it just feels unfinished. or it feels like there are things missing. And I feel like there could have been a better kaiju movie in what we got. The overall story, it's your stereotypical story. It's basically to get you from A to B, to get you to the kaiju and to watch the destruction unfold. Like you say, there's no connection or any commonness, or anything that connects you to the human characters to really, there's not one of them that stands out. So because of that, what do you want to give it? He's saying 5 out of 10. But here's a little snippet for you, because this even shocked me. Did you know there is a sequel?
Yep.
Yes, actually, I do.
I have not seen it, but yeah.
I'm not planning on seeing it either.
But guess what?
This, I mean, maybe.
I heard it's a straight up comedy. I heard this one was actually designed for humor.
It's a straight up comedy, and the sequel is called Monster X Strikes Back Attack the G8 Summit. No. It is a 2008 Japanese kaiju comedy film released by Shock Chico and produced by the Julala Production Committee.
I feel like you have to say Julala after you say that, like the greater good, the greater good.
Right.
The greater good.
If it's like that Gappa, that silly Gappa film, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't know.
Gappa. Yeah. The Triphibian
monsters.
No, that I'm talking about. I mean, I'm not talking about that. That's actually a decent film. I'm talking about there was a so-called remake, a Gappa Attack or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. But
really?
It was, yes. I mean, look it up. I mean, it shows this kind of like bird like whatever thing, and he's playing volleyball with this. It's straight up comedy, and I'm just like, I can't get into this. I'm sorry. I mean, I love comedy, but when you got look, we seen Godzilla and Evera himself doing this. That's one thing. Seeing two kaijus doing it, and it's like you're supposed to be invested. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. If it's like that, I am not watching it. Sorry, can't do it. Yeah, Kappa. That's what it is. Kappa. Yeah, not Kappa. Kappa. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, isn't a Kappa a Japanese water demon?
I think so, if I'm not mistaken. But if you seen the film or at least seen some bits of it, you might like it more than me. But I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. No.
So that will be the next one we'll review then.
No, we're not. No, sorry. No.
That'll be the straw that breaks Walter's back.
I mean, that ain't even. If you said you're gonna do that, it's like, well, I'll just see on the sideline. Sorry, no.
Save that for the ones that didn't come today. Let them watch it.
That's very true.
Sci-fi, Anthony, you're gonna get a taste of your own medicine here. So
yeah.
No, I haven't decided the next classic kaiju Konnections film that we'll be reviewing. There is a lot to look at still. I did see one that I was interested in. I think I think it's more like a Japanese fantasy film, the Magic Serpent.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
So that's piqued me interest. There was is it the Planet of the Dinosaurs? Oh,
yes.
The Russian science fiction film, correct? Or they used footage from a Russian science fiction film for the special effects, or am I thinking of a different movie?
You must be thinking of a different movie, because the movie that I'm thinking, it's a 1977 American production.
Mm-hmm. There's also King. Is there a film called King Dinosaur?
That's from the 50s, and they use like a giant Gila monster or something and call it
it's a lizard. It's a lizard, and the scene it's a T-Rex. But
and and I'm just throw this out there. I'm assuming most of you have seen or heard of Mighty Peking Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you might want to check that one out if you
Is that the one where it came out right after Jaws and he actually fights a giant shark?
No, that's Ape. That's Ape.
Okay.
No, Ape is a totally that's straight up comic, and it was in 3D. No, it might be. Yes, I know. Ape was in. I'm like, okay. No, Mikey Man is actually a Chinese production by the Shaw Brothers, and it's a very good film. I have to say.
I'm sure I'm confusing scenes, so bear with me.
Yeah. I get it. No.
There's also The Last. Is it The Last Dinosaur?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's a classic.
Richard Boone.
Last
Dinosaur.
Oh yeah.
And
remember that song.
is a I can never see the monsters, and it was a Gowie Valley,
Guanji.
Guanji Valley.
Oh, yeah,
Something
like that.
Which I believe is based on an idea by Willis O'Brien.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Which
Well, as
is
you can
interesting
see,
because he was originally a cowboy before he started working on stop motion. And I think he was also involved in a few dinosaur digs in Western Valleys as well.
That's
interesting.
Cool.
There's a bell ringing in my head. I think you are right.
Okay, then.
Anubis.
Okay, what's up? It's
Yeah.
all right. Yes.
It's here.
Me and Anubis watched the King Dinosaur film, and oh my god, what a watch it was! I was thinking, are we really going to review that?
I mean, why not?
And I know there was a couple of movies he suggested, and I can't remember what they were.
Did he mention the Bermuda Depths then, if that's the case?
He did mention a couple.
Well, if he never does it, I'll definitely do that one, because that one I think needs to be brought to light.
And obviously, once I get through the rest of the classic kaiju movies that not many people talk about, well, we'll have to then move on to the big ones, all of the Godzilla series, starting with the Shuara.
Nothing wrong with that.
But of course, this has been fun, gentlemen, as always, doing another classic Kaiju Connections review. Oh, let's have a look.
Yes, he says the Bermuda Depths is amazing.
It is.
Well,
and that too is Rankin Bash, by the way, that also did Last Dinosaur.
Well, let's do that one next then.
Okay, let's do it.
So Bermuda Depths will be the next Kaiju Connections classic review. So I've never seen it, so it'll be something to look forward to, especially when you see, review films you've never seen before. So that's got me excited for something I've never seen before. Just like X from Outer Space, I've seen it. I don't have to see it again. So with that said, as always, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always having you on the stream. Daniel, is there anything coming to your channel that you would like to bring up?
Yes. It just dropped actually before this stream. It is the Gothic time-lapse illustration, which I did upload a few weeks ago, but it was copyright striked for the most bogus of reasons. But thankfully, it's sorted out now. It's got a new soundtrack. It's back on there. Just head over to my channel and oh, for God's sake, no! Anubis, no!
I saw that. It's like, okay.
Next thing you know, it's going to be like Eight-Legged Freaks or the Giant Spider Invasion or something like
Ooh,
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Eight-Legged Freaks.
From the same people behind 1998's Godzilla and Independence Day, by the way.
It feels like it.
And 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
We'll have to eventually move on, and if once we start doing Godzilla films and we get through them and the Gamera, we'll have to start going on to the really bad ones like the Asylum.
Wasn't
one of
the
them?
Asylum?
You can't have the good without the bad. I'm sorry. It's just
Yeah.
Ape versus Lizard or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So Mr. Daniel on his channel has some great illustrations, and he shows you how he does them. Please check out Dan filming. Hopefully, as well, we're going to get some more stories and stop motion films up there because he's good at doing that as well. So please subscribe, please, to Dan filming. So, Mr. Jedi Granville, what is coming up next on Jedi Granville Productions?
Coming next week, next Saturday, I'm going to do a live unboxing. Which because I have a couple of things that's coming in, and I'm waiting on one particular that's going to be my crown jewel. And when I do the live stream, you know, I'm going to show it to you guys. But also the next following Saturday, I will have the top 10 favorite kaijus, which is involved. Well, I should say kaiju, not kaijus, because kaiju is already, already cruel. But I will hopefully have people attend that where we discuss what is your top favorite kaijus out of all the kaijus that you've seen, whether it be Japanese, Chinese, American, British, or whatever. Though, put them on the list and say what's from 10 to number 1, exempting Godzilla, because we already know Godzilla is probably our top 1, maybe.
Conga.
But yeah, exactly. So the thing about that is, what is the top 10 kaijus other than Godzilla that you find favorable in your, reservoir? As I like to say.
Everard's cousin.
Yeah, exactly. But that'll be there, and we're doing it. Like I said, we're going to do it live. But we're doing it live. So hopefully we can have some of you guys on there, and we can discuss that. Hopefully it'll be fun.
Varan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Varan for you for sure.
Yeah.
Thrash, what's coming up on your channel?
Funny you should ask. Tomorrow, I'm going to be joining the Unapologetic Geek for what we call Tug Chat. A bunch of us are going to be on having a panel where we talk about our favorite Star Wars memories, not just the movies, but where were you the first time you saw Star Wars? What's your funnest memory of Star Wars? What was your favorite Star Wars toy as a kid? Just things that really, the nostalgia associated behind the franchise. And then tomorrow night at 7, speaking of a nostalgia deep dive, I'm going to be on my channel. I'm going to be joining Danny Staten and Sister Sarah. And we're just going to be basically doing all the forgotten stuff from Gen X, candy bars, soft drinks, restaurants that aren't around anymore that we miss, but that were
depressing.
Really part of Gen X.
Oh, trust me, it's more depressing than you think.
I'll tell you straight away, since you mentioned what about when it comes to Star Wars. I remember when the prequel trilogy came out, and I had a handful of I had T-shirts, I had the original films on DVD, but when they came out, the prequels, well, me and me family were in the living room, were watching it. We're just flicking through the television, and it came on a television special on QVC for the prequels, and they had this pack from, it was called Dynamic Forces, and it was all of the prequel character posters in lithograph form. And you also got a pack of patches. You got a holographic picture of Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader, and that only had 300, and I bought it off the shopping channel. And so that's probably one of my favorite collectibles from Star Wars.
Excellent.
And I think one day I'll do an unboxing and show people and put it on the channel. I also have a Darth Vader statue where he's holding his lightsaber.
Oh, nice.
So I do have a bit of Star Wars collectibles as well. I'm not a fan of the newer movies, but I'm a huge fan of the originals, and I think the prequels, because of how people reacted to, I guess, the Disney trilogy, as I like to call it, I think that the prequel trilogies gained a lot more respect and are looked at fondly now than they did before.
Do memories of playing the Star Wars video games count?
It would. And anything related to Star Wars.
All right. Okay, who remembers playing the original Battlefront 1 and 2?
I
yeah.
remember having the Knights of the Old Republic games.
I wasn't into those games at the time. I would play that now, but back then I wasn't.
Oh, I loved them, and I used to have. It wasn't like a game. It was it was like a racing game, but you were the different spaceships. So you were like you were like a stormtrooper like spaceship, or you were the X-wing.
Hmm.
It was like that game Wipeout, but instead of it being like the space cars, it was the different spaceships from the Star Wars franchise.
Hmm.
What's coming up with Mr. Tony the Dead?
Well, before I say that, I'd say my favorite Star Wars toy is the first thing I thought it was the Max Rebo band, preferably Max Rebo in the organ. That was my favorite toy. Let's see. I have ghouls. I don't know if we're gonna do ghouls next week or we're gonna take a week off, and because the next one's gonna be 50th, so we're having plans for that. Like it's gonna be live, and I think we're gonna do a double review, but we don't know what yet, and we're still talking about it. But yeah, we're gonna probably have prizes and stuff too. So it's like a big thing. I just don't want to half-ass it. We want to make everything go good. And but it's supposed to be this Saturday coming up, next Saturday, I think, if I'm looking at that right. Yeah. And Reign of Fire, is that still on?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be on that on the 8th. And I'm looking at my calendar.
And I rescheduled, I think, the Tremors for Monday.
Yeah, oh yeah, Tremors on Monday. So I got that going right now. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's in that over there. I have a steel book of the first 6 films.
Oh, cool.
And I won't fall asleep this time. But other than that, that's pretty much going on. If I missed anything, I'm sorry. Anyway,
no.
But that's pretty much it. Then baseball for my kid, and Shayna's birthday is on the 13th. And other than that, nothing.
Oh, cool. Well, it's all good stuff, Tony. I can't wait to see what you come up with for the 50th of Ghouls. It'll be exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me and the entertainment headquarters, coming this Monday, I've rescheduled the Into the Darkness Tremors Creature Feature Special, which is dedicated to Anthony Jordan because they're his favourite movies. We were meant to do it on Friday, but unfortunately, good old COVID kicked my ass and I was bedridden for nearly 3 days, but you can't keep a good ginger down. So I fought it off and I was managed to be able to do this today. So we've rescheduled that for Monday night, 10 p.m. my time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I think it is. And then, like you said, on the 8th, we've got Retro Classic Movie Show, Reign of Fire. So another classic film featuring the dragons. Yeah. But as always, this has been Kaiju Konnections. It's been another classic Kaiju review, and the next one we're going to do is going to be Bermuda Depths, which I'm looking forward to. But gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. And for everybody that's watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the Entertainment Headquarters. And most importantly, also like, share, and subscribe to all of these gentlemen. They're badass in their own right, and they've got some amazing content on their channels. So from me and from them, we wish you all a good night. Take care, everybody.